It starts with a coat. Not just any coat, but a thick woolen overcoat, the kind that smells like cedar and history when you unfold it from the closet. It belonged to your grandfather, maybe even his father before him. The buttons are heavy, stitched tight by hands that took pride in their craft. The fabric, dense and warm, has survived countless winters, outlasting fashion trends, economic shifts, and the disposable culture that now defines modern wardrobes. 100 years ago, clothes were built to last. People didn't have walk-in closets stuffed with fast fashion. They had a few well-made pieces stitched by tailors, woven from natural fibers, and made to endure. Wool coats, leather boots, denim so tough it could stand on its own. Clothes weren't just things you bought and tossed aside. They were investments, passed down through generations, mended with care and worn with pride. Your grandmother's dress tells a similar story, not one of synthetic fabrics and trendy patterns that lose their appeal in a month, but of careful tailoring, handmade lace, and fabric that softened with time rather than falling apart. She didn't own 50 dresses. She had a handful, each worn for a specific occasion, each cherished. Today, clothes barely survive a year. A $10 t-shirt loses its shape after 3 washes. A synthetic blouse pills before it even gets a chance to be loved. We buy, we discard, and we repeat, feeding an industry built on speed and volume rather than quality and longevity. So, what changed? Why did we trade durability for disposability? A century ago, clothing was a craft, not a commodity. Tailors measured, stitched, and created pieces that fit perfectly, designed to last a lifetime. Materials were sourced with care, cotton grown without shortcuts, wool spun thick and strong, leather treated to endure decades. When clothes tore, people didn't toss them, they patched them. Needles and thread weren't just tools, they were symbols of resilience and self-sufficiency. Then came mass production. Machines replaced hands, cheap labor replaced craftsmanship. Synthetic fabrics flooded the market, cutting costs but sacrificing durability. The rise of department stores and fast fashion chains turned clothing into an impulse buy, not an investment. The industry trained us to want more, to crave the next trend, to believe that last season's clothes were outdated, even if they were still perfectly fine. Marketing played its part too. The fashion industry convinced us that we needed variety, that repeating outfits was a faux pas, that owning more meant living better. Trends sped up, clothes got cheaper, quality dropped, and here we are, drowning in clothes that barely survive a season. But there's a cost to all this, a real one. The environmental toll is staggering. The fashion industry is one of the world's biggest polluters, guzzling water, churning out carbon emissions, and filling landfills with synthetic fabrics that take centuries to break down. Every year, millions of tons of clothing are discarded, some barely worn, some still with price tags attached. Fast fashion thrives on this waste, churning out more, feeding a cycle that never ends. And it's not just the planet that suffers, people do too. The workers stitching those cheap clothes in faraway factories are paid pennies, working grueling hours in conditions that most of us wouldn't survive. The industry's hunger for more and more production, more profit comes at the expense of human lives and dignity. And that's just how things are now. Clothes don't last. They aren't made to. The industry figured something out. People don't want what lasts. They want what's new. A fresh trend, a fresh color, a fresh look for Instagram. Nobody dreams of passing down a coat anymore. Who would want to? A polyester jacket with glued seams, a t-shirt that warps after 3 washes. There's nothing worth keeping. Your grandparents? They didn't have a choice. Their clothes had to last because buying more wasn't an option. They wore wool because it was warm. They sewed because there was no mall down the street. They repaired because throwing something away meant wasting money they didn't have. But today, we don't need clothes to last. When something rips, we replace it. When a new style drops, we move on. We don't sew, we don't mend, we don't think twice. Maybe, 100 years from now, someone will open an old digital archive, an ad for a brand that no longer exists, a picture of a microtrends haul, a headline about landfills overflowing with discarded fashion. And maybe they'll wonder how we lived like this, or maybe they won't, because by then, clothes might not even be fabric anymore.